everyone. Welcome to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. My name is Brandon Elliott, your host, and this is my good friends. I have the pleasure to introduce Mr. Derek Harms. You've been doing a bunch of fix and flips in San Diego for a good amount of time now, and you've also done a bunch of investing on the East Coast as well. As far as mobile home parks, a couple multifamily as well. And you are a real estate agent for Berkshire Hathaway. So, welcome, man. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
So,
this is my first ever podcast interview. So hopefully first of many, but this is the absolute first.
Okay, cool. I'm surprised nobody got you on before this.
Hey, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, cool. So, if you wouldn't mind, explain a little bit more of your background and just dive into, kind of how you got to where you're at today.
Sure. So it all really started right after college. My graduation gift from college, instead of the trip to Europe that I wanted from my parents, my dad said, nope, I'm going to buy you a piece of vacant land. This property was in Arkansas, and it was a piece of property that needed a lot of clearing. It was a vacant land, and we went in and cleared it, sold it to a developer, and made a few bucks. It wasn't much. I think I made like $6,000 or something along those lines. And at that point, that just got the wheels turning and got me interested in the business. From there, it took me a little while longer to actually jump in full stride. I bounced around a couple different jobs. I was a bartender mainly for a while. But the interesting thing about that job is that it allowed me to bartend at night to pay my bills. And during the day, I would study real estate. And then I eventually bought a duplex, which was 3 hours from where I lived. And during the day, I would drive out to the property, work on it, sweat equity type thing, drive back and bartend, drive back the next day. I did this for a couple months until we got the property completed and ended up selling it to a regular at my bar and made, I made $17,000 on that deal. So that again got my mouth wet, and from there I decided to quit bartending and just get real estate full time. So that's how I progressed into it, and from there it's kind of a longer story. So I don't know if you want me to go into that or if that's kind of what you're asking.
No, go for it. Dive in.
Okay. From there, I got my real estate license, and
what year was that?
That was 2011. That okay. I got that. The duplex I bought was 2010. Got my license in 2011. I also, right around that time, I moved to Florida because I had bought a property online at a tax deed auction. I had taken a training, like a 3-day boot camp on tax deed sales and tax lien investing, and I learned how to do it. I liked Florida because I have a lot of resources there, family, and my mother was there at the time, so I had resources, a place to stay, and I knew people. So I bought a property there and moved there. It was the worst property I've still seen to date, in all of the homes we flipped and looked at even. I mean, it was a prehistoric jungle had taken over this house. It had been sitting vacant in Florida for many years, and in Florida, things grow fast. And for instance, I removed a colony of 60,000 bees from the property. It was literally a complete jungle, and I didn't really know what I had gotten myself into when I pulled the trigger on it, but ended up all working out and made about $32,000 on that deal. And then from there, that really taught me how to flip a house, because if I can flip that house, you can flip anything. So that really is what got me going. And then from there, I moved back to San Diego and been here ever since.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man. Last night we actually saw each other at the RIA group for San Diego's Creative Investors Association, and when you were presenting your project there, I mean, I thought that one looked like a headache, but from what you just described, that sounds a lot more, like a jungle.
Yeah, if you remember last night, I mentioned that the one last night was the second worst property that I'd ever purchased. And the first one was this one in Florida, and they made that one look like Caesar's Palace. It was really that bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
So going back from obviously like your family wise, you obviously have an educated, smart dad to, not blow the money on a vacation for you, but instead kind of set you up and gear you up for the right path. So he's always been an investor as well?
No. So my dad was a cameraman. So he was a cameraman for TV shows like Home Improvement, Boy Meets World. I don't know. You may be too young to remember those shows, but no, that was his job. It was his career. And towards the end of his career, he saw the light and realized that is just a job, and it's not going to create the future wealth that he wanted. So he started dabbling in real estate investing and eventually quit being a camera operator full time just to get into real estate investing full time. And everyone in his industry thought he was crazy because he had really made a name for himself. He had 5 Golden Globes, had 5 Emmys sitting in his living room, and anyone who can do that is pretty accomplished. But he knew what he was doing, and he got into real estate investing full time, and he's really the person who steered me in the right direction. And he's still my confidant on every deal I do now. I usually talk to him about it, and I got a lot of what I value today in real estate from him.
Okay, that's awesome. What other type of education have you had before that, besides actually, going to take your your license test?
So before that, I graduated from college with a bachelor's degree. I went to Sonoma State, which is in Northern California, but I didn't really learn anything about real estate there. So before that, I'm not sure, Brandon, but I can tell you that, especially recently, in the past 2 or 3 years, I've been a perpetual student, and you really have to be focused on learning and continuously learning, because the minute you think you know it all, you're screwed, because you just don't. I'm always learning. You have to be humble with it, but from all aspects of this business. So I've taken negotiation trainings. I've gone to building conferences. I've gone to all kinds of trainings to learn how to do this. I mean, from the financial side to the social side, about learning about people, and then goal setting and all these things. So, as an entrepreneur, you really have to take that initiative because no one can do it for you.
Of course, yeah. I like that. I didn't know that. You took so many classes there. So as far as current deals or maybe even, previous deals, what kind of learning curves have you experienced?
A lot, man. So getting started, you kind of think you know it all by taking these boot camps and things like that. And the minute you do your first couple deals, you really quickly learn that that's not the case. And there's so much to learn. And it really, the key has been surrounding yourself with people who have been there before and who know what they're doing and who can kind of coach you through. So I had a flipping mentor, rest in peace. His name was Jim Sowards. He was what I call a guru, and had done hundreds of flips, and really kind of helped me to get where I'm at. So I would recommend to anyone listening, if you're interested in flipping houses, it would be a great idea to, it may sound cliche, but get a mentor and just surround yourself with somebody who's done this a few times, and not a few times, a lot, and knows how to insulate themselves from some of the things that could become problems. Because I'll tell you now, when I walk a house I'm potentially looking to buy, I know exactly what to look for. Whereas 4 years ago, I would have overlooked things now that would have cost me a lot of money.
Yeah. Now, as far as like seminars and stuff like that, have you taken real estate like weekend courses or programs that you would pay for, I guess?
Yes. Oh yeah. I've taken a lot. I mean, and honestly, and the way I feel about those is, I feel like you just got to be careful with the ones that you go to and pay for. But I feel that you have to go to seminars that cost money, because the type of people that are going to be there who are willing to commit their hard-earned dollars to learn how to do something at a high level are the people you want to surround yourself with. And typically the people providing that education, it's not free, and those people have spent a lot of time and money learning how to do what they did. And if they're reputable and you respect their work and they come as a referral, like, it's typically going to be worth every dime times a million. And every time I go somewhere, to anything I pay for, I usually leave there with at least one thing. My dad taught me that for everything you go to, learn at least one thing or meet one person or do one thing that's going to either make you or save you money. So I have gone to a lot. I continuously go to a lot. I think the last one I went to was a couple months ago. I went to Gary Johnson's Financial Freedoms Principle Seminar.
Yep.
And I highly recommend that to anybody who, not even in real estate, just anyone interested in getting out of the rat race and learning about finances and how to actually look at how to make money and save money and invest money. Huge. It was amazing. Eye-opening.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I like that. So, as far as how many deals have you been a part of now?
I would say I've been a part of probably about 50.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So, how do you typically? And these are all basically most of them, majority are all for the fix and flip.
Yes. So especially recently, it's been really mainly focused on the fix and flips. And as I mentioned to you and you pointed out earlier, I'm also, a real estate agent. So I do just some, I guess, typical sales for people as well. But right now it's mainly a focus on the fix and flip.
Okay. So as far as fix and flip investing, how do you go about getting your leads?
Multiple ways. So I believe that you have to have at least 2 really good lead sources and that are always feeding you deals. And this is a growing part of our business. So just last year, we really started cranking this up where we had a regular regiment of lead generation. And matter of fact, we're currently in the process of hiring a full-time assistant and an acquisitions manager to handle where we've been going with this. But we do mailing campaigns and a referral based as well. So a lot of our deals come from other agents that I've done deals with, or wholesalers, or affiliates, so title, or anyone else who's in the real estate industry. If you bark up their tree consistently, at least once every now and then, a piece of the fruit's going to fall from the tree.
Oh yeah, I like that. So for the most part, you definitely give credit towards relationship building and the people that you know around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that has been probably the biggest influence on me, is getting involved with the right people who have in turn got me involved with their right people. And one thing leads to another, and you're really surrounded with a great group of people, and it just turns into something great. I mean, I've met one of my partners right now, awesome dude, and I met him at a financial roundtable, and then we ended up going to an apartment building training together, and now we're great friends and have invested together. I wouldn't think twice about lending the guy money or what have you, because we've got that kind of relationship now, and it's all from these, like, just getting to these groups where like-minded people interact.
Okay. So how many partners or partnerships are you? Is it like joint ventures that you're a part of, or just team building right now?
Yeah, so I don't have I have a full-time partner. Her name's Kimberly, and she sits right over there. And so she's my business partner in terms of our corporation that we flip houses with. But when it comes to like fringe partnerships, there's a few that I'm a part of. And if a deal is brought to me, I would I would feel comfortable working with that person.
Mm.
But that is the that I wouldn't call them like official partners,
Yeah, yeah.
but like you said, like a joint venture kind of thing.
Okay. And going back towards the direct mail marketing, what kind of response rate have you had? I know you were talking about it a little bit last night, and going into negotiating your tactics with that. I want to hear a little bit more about, but I'm curious. You know, a lot of people I hear all different types of kind of ratios that end up turning out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be completely candid, I don't have an exact number for you, and that's something this year that once I have an assistant,
Yeah, that'll help.
it'll really be a lot easier to track these numbers. And I totally am on the camp that you need to, if you market, you need to track it and do it properly. So that is on my high priority list. I'm also going to be using a Podio-based system, which will really help me track and organize all these leads. But from my experience this past year, I'm getting about a 3% response rate, which is pretty good. And I attest that to the fact that the marketing I'm doing, the mailing marketing I'm doing, is pretty specialized in terms of the list of people that I'm sending to and the letter themselves. It's more of a customized letter rather than a blanket um, a blanket postcard that I'm just sending out to canvas a neighborhood or so.
Yeah. So what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, in what the letter or the
Lettering, yeah. I mean, is it a different color to make it stand out, like something welcoming, or?
Yeah, so I use I always use a bright envelope and
Okay.
something that looks fun and
Yeah.
that isn't your standard white envelope. So immediately when you receive it in the mail, it looks like something interesting because the fact is when you and I check our mail every day, it's a pile and we quickly sift through it and we go trash, trash, keep. I'll open that in a minute. Trash, trash, keep. And then at least it's the way I do it. And I now have a pile of stuff that I need to go through and open. And if it's a fun envelope and it's handwritten and it looks like an invitation to something or something like that, it's going to get open. So the open rate to me is crucial because if it doesn't get past that, it doesn't matter what's on it.
Yeah.
So that to me is big. So we make sure we always do something like that. And I always have a female handwrite our envelopes. Their writing always looks more inviting. Maybe that's just, I don't know, but dude, mine's elementary gibberish, and every female I've known has really nice handwriting. So that's worked for us. And from there, the letter is very specific, and it's not just canvassing a neighborhood. It's to a select group of people who I'm mailing to, whether that's absentee owners or probate or whatever that is. But it references their specific situation rather than just being, hey, I want to buy your house.
Yeah. So how does that? How do you actually pick out from that list? I mean, is it just something that you and your partner kind of come to agreements on, or just something that you think would be trendy and popular?
Yeah, so she pretty much defers to me when it comes to the marketing, and really, I'm no marketing guru. I'm not reinventing any wheels. I have a couple people, mentors of mine, who I started the conversation with, and that's where I've learned pretty much all of this from. And basically, what they say is, and I'm sure this is nothing new to anyone doing mailing marketing, but it's this, you've got to find somebody with some motivation to sell their home. So that's really what we're starting with is, all right, what type of list of people is going to have even the slightest motivation to sell their home? And I think that there's certain addresses and people you can just cross right off the list because there's no motivation there. So I mean, just for instance, if you get a list of people and you run a quick search to see which homes have sold within the last 12 months, they're probably not trying to sell their home again in 12 months, you know, if they've only owned it for 12 months. And granted, that can change in certain circumstances, but we're basically starting with who we think may be motivated, at least because of their situation, and then now we go from there.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. About 6 months ago, I received a direct mail marketing letter, and it wasn't even a letter. I didn't need to open it or anything. It was a bright yellow postcard, And then on the back of it, it had, you know, we buy houses. And it was something that stood out, obviously, because it was so bright yellow. But I literally just bought the house and got it to the point that it was running really well, a triplex. And it was about a year and a half after I purchased it. So I was kind of shocked, you know, why they would actually pick me as you know, that was their kind of who they're targeting, to trying to, I guess, get people that ran into bad situations a year and a half later, realized this is not good and wanted to get out. But
You know, I know a lot of guys who make a lot of money by simply sending out 10,000 postcards a week, and they don't care who they go to because it's a numbers game,
yeah.
and you're going to get a lot of people sent to like someone like you who just throws it away or there's no motivation, but they're going to get people who are interested. So I know people who do that as well, and that's completely fine. That's just not really the model that I use.
Yeah. Well, I called them up. I called them, but just to hear more about what they were doing. But I thought it was kind of funny. So what does it typically cost you per letter?
So we're all in about a little over $1. We're like $1.10, and some people might say that's high, and it probably is high. But again, we're doing a more customized letter and trying to go a little more quality than we are quantity. And so we're about $1.10 all in, and that includes the envelope, the paper, the ink, the stamp. Again, we use fun stamps. We go online and buy really interesting stamps. They're not just ones you buy at the post office.
Okay.
Again, kind of create an open rate. And you know, we hire someone to handwrite the envelopes, and etc. So between all those costs, it's about $1.10 per each piece.
Okay. Nice. Going back to learning curves, or, you know, some wins as well, obviously. But I'm curious, you know, what has been your biggest like takeaway?
Takeaway from the marketing, or takeaway from what?
Just in general with real estate. I know you're speaking a little bit last night about some of, you know, your learning curves with a particular property, but besides even that particular instance with the gas line, what else would you say would be like your biggest thing that, you know, is a huge learning curve, or something that, you know, cost you?
Sure. So I would say water, number one, is in terms of a learning curve. So you always have to have an eye for water and what water is going to do in and around your property. And it just sounds like so simple, but until you have something that really screws you up at a property because of water intrusion or leaking or what have you, you don't think about it like you did until you have something major happen. So I would say, at least like on a blocking a job and looking at it, just be really cognizant of what water does. You know, is the landscape sloping back towards the house? Does it look like water is going to get underneath the foundation? Does it look like there's any sort of underground problem or anything like that you just don't really look at? You have kind of, you know, deer in headlights kind of when you get started for those kind of things. But once one bites you in the butt, you'll learn how to get through that. But I'd say my two biggest takeaways just from my experience in real estate these days is number one is who you surround yourself with. If you are learning from people who are dumb or are too risky or not risky enough, then it's going to rub off on you. So I would just say to anyone listening who's looking to get started, it's really important to get around people who really have the same vision of you, or who are doing exactly what you're doing or what you want to do. So if you want to flip houses, go out there and grind and find out who are the top 10 people in your market flipping houses, and take them out to lunch, take them out to coffee. It may take you a few minutes to get somebody to agree to it, but you bug them enough, you know, it'll happen. So that kind of leads me to my next point, which is probably even more important, is take action. You have to go and do something. Nothing will fall into your lap, whether it's bugging somebody for lunch, or whether it's buying a property, or whether it's doing diligence or whatever. You have to actually go out there and just do it, because the odds are you're going to make some mistakes, but if you don't do anything, nothing's ever going to happen. So it's really easy to get paralysis by analysis. And I know that term's thrown around a lot in our industry,
Yeah.
but really easy to do. And there's all these things that you think are going to get in your way when really it's your mind and yourself getting in your way. So you really just got to go out and do it and just make sure you're smart about it, but make sure you go out and take action. That's huge.
Nice. Yeah, I love it. That's good. So what kind of projects are you working on right now?
Right now we got 5 projects going. One of them is recently completed. I put on the market last week. I have multiple offers. Matter of fact, when we're done with this, I have to go and choose one with my partner. And we have a couple condos that
Did
were.
that get bid up? Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Yeah, absolutely. So it went. All of our offers are over asking price right now, and yes, it did get bid up. And I thought I listed it at a price that was already significantly high. So, that's where we're at. Will there be an appraisal issue? Maybe. Knock on wood. All last year, we set records on all of our homes in this respective neighborhoods. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. And we all got the appraisal of that value, and I take a lot of pride in that because I put together a very thick package for the appraiser and really tried to help coach them to our price. And at the end of the day, they're licensed, bonded, and insured, and going to make their decision based off the data. But you do the best you can to give them all the data to get them to your number. So I feel confident in that. But yes, it did get bid up.
Yeah, I actually have a learning curve myself with one of my properties in Ohio. I built value in it, and then I went to refinance it, and my particular lender, they wouldn't go underneath a certain amount, and I needed it to, it was like right around the edge, is what the appraiser came back at. And at the end of the day, I couldn't actually get the loan, but I pretty much, I wasn't prepared enough to actually, have a thick packet, and I didn't show up to the property because of the distance. I thought it was just going to appraise for it, no problem. And there's just some learning curves with that. But I'm glad that you mentioned that.
I believe that wholeheartedly. And
Yeah.
I feel bad for just clients out there and people, just Johnny home buyer and home seller who have real estate agents who don't show up for the appraisal because they're really doing their clients a disservice. And, whether it's for my property or someone I'm listing a home for, whatever, like it's mandatory for me to be there because that's a huge component, as you found out the hard way.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's see where. So
you knew about some of the other projects.
Yeah.
And so I had a couple. We have a couple condos that were kind of interesting. They were based off of a letter that I wrote the guy.
Oh.
I wrote a letter to a gentleman's home address and trying to buy that house when indeed he called me and said he had 2 condos that he was looking to sell. And that it took a long time to materialize. I think by the day he got the letter to the day we closed escrow was like 4 or 5 months. But finding that more and more is that it's taking a long time for these things to incubate and then turn into deals and turn into closings. But that was really interesting. Both of those are going on the market. One of them just got photographed today. I'll have it on tomorrow, and then the other one will be on Monday or Tuesday. But again, those came from a letter. And another one that we're closing on. Go ahead.
Direct mail marketing for that, or were you driving for dollars and you just saw that property?
Nope, that was strictly a mail campaign.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the other one you were talking about?
That is up in Carlsbad, which is San Diego County, for those of you that don't know. And that, again, was a product from mailing campaign. And I mentioned this last night that this particular seller has sold us multiple houses and has just been a great source of income, really, because you do right by them the first time and they're impressed and they're happy to work with you and they realize you're not trying to screw anybody over, and they'll call you when they have other needs. And he's given my name out to other people and I haven't heard from them yet, but he says I probably will, and being given his track record, I believe him.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did, for that particular situation, obviously that all revolves around you taking action and being persistent, but how did you get this particular homeowner to get to know, like, and trust you, to feel comfortable to constantly just be sending you all these deals when I think you talked about it last night, and it's easy to understand in the market that we're in right now. When there is a deal around, there's typically, a swarm of investors at the property, typically, that are all trying to get to the homeowner. So how did you stand out?
So I think it's a couple things. And first off was the persistence. And I would follow up religiously. And in our business, follow up is crucial. And, I learned this from Joe McCall on his podcast. And he basically preaches follow up because it's so crucial and it's so true. And I've learned that just through my own practice. But I would follow up religiously. And then number two is just be real with people. I'm not out there to try to screw somebody over. And I think that comes off in the way I present myself and the way I present my offers and the way that I talk to people is I'm trying to solve a problem for everybody rather than try to win a negotiation or take advantage of somebody. And really, in real estate, you have your reputation, and that's really all you have. And if you develop a really bad one, then it's really gonna be bad for business. So I'd rather not do a deal and lose out on tens of thousands of dollars, and rather than risk my reputation doing that. So I think that was really it. And at the end of all of it, he said, Derek, I feel like I can really trust you, and you've done everything you said you're going to do. So if you tell him you're going to call him on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, call him on Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Or if you say you're going to have the title company reach out to them, make sure that happens. So
Yeah,
it's not like rocket science, right? It's just like be honest and be punctual, and you're probably going to get deals.
So true. Yeah. Not enough people are those things. Unfortunately, a lot of people are getting to that greedy stage and, want to make sure that they're making the money, and then keeping, just the transparency and also consistency, like you were bringing up. So
yeah, absolutely. And that's it. I like that. Transparency and consistency. It's what words to live by in our business.
yeah, cool. So, just backtracking a little bit, if we could talk about the mobile home park a little bit more in detail. How did you come across that? Obviously, that's long distance. Is that what you're looking into originally, or how did you come across something like that?
So my dad actually got started in mobile home parks. That was one of his very first investments, and he was the influence for me to get into a mobile home park investment. And one of the first properties I bought, other than the duplex, was a 2-unit building. It wasn't a duplex. There were 2 separate units. There were 2 mobile homes on one parcel of land that was in Florida. And that was my first taste into the business. And then my dad had owned quite a few mobile home parks, and that got me interested. And there was a deal that came across his desk in Florida, and it was, he basically said, "Hey, Derek, would you like to partner with me on this?" And he was doing me a favor. He didn't need me as a partner or didn't need the money. So he was really doing that to help me grow and to help me make some money. And I ended up borrowing the money to get involved in the deal. And that's how that kind of progressed. And he had made friends with one of the best mobile home park investors that he knew that I still have ever met. And that's how he got into it. So it goes back to surrounding yourself with people who in this business who are legit. And that's what he did. And that's kind of what I did with him. And that's how I got involved.
Okay. I'm sure you did, but did you learn a lot, even though it was kind of, a deal that was kind of brought in already? Were there learning curves along the way, or, your dad was already a little bit experienced, plus that other guy that you were mentioning?
Totally. Yeah, there's a huge learning curve, and mobile home parks are unlike any other real estate asset class that at least I know of. You're dealing with, depending on the class of park, but this class was, I would say, a C class park. maybe, depending on how you qualify it, it could be maybe a C minus or a D. So you're dealing with interesting tenants and, for lack of a better adjective, but you really have to change the way you look at tenants, the way you talk to them, the way you deal with that demographic and the product you give them. Frankly, I mean, the homes I'm flipping, I'm flipping a $3 million house in La Jolla is completely different than a 19 space mobile home park in Florida. And you really kind of have to shape you do your business that way. So I learned a heck of a lot very quickly. And that type of demographic, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So you have to get pretty stern, and you really have to know what you're doing, or you're gonna lose. So anybody looking to get involved in mobile home parks, I love it. They're great asset classes, and you'll probably do very well. Just make sure you realize you're getting into a little different arena of real estate, and just do your diligence. That's all.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I feel like that's not. I mean, within the group that, that we're in, it is. But a lot of people that are first starting off, I feel like it's not stressed out enough that you really have to do your due diligence on projects, and sometimes taking too much action, just jumping into things, could actually hurt you. But at the same time, you don't want to be that type of person that's just thinking too much about it. So.
Totally. I mean, it's a balance, right? Like anything, you just have to make sure you got the right balance of diligence and action, and I mean, you're going to succeed.
For sure. So what does the future have in store for you? What are you working on? Any goals this year, or where do you see yourself?
Yeah, so I actually have my goal day for the year next week on Tuesday. So I haven't set everything up for this year yet, and I'm a little behind schedule. I was traveling for a while. I like to have it done by now. I did last year at this time, but I don't yet. So Tuesdays are my goals day. So I'll have everything kind of dialed in, but I've done some retrospect.
Are you just doing that with your partner or just yourself?
Yeah, so I'm actually doing it with my partner, and I have already kind of gone over our goals for the year for our group. But I have a friend of mine who's very like-minded, and we're getting together and we're doing it's like a full goals day, and it's everything. So it's physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's family, it's everything, business related. So everything, that's kind of what we're doing on Tuesday. But like for my group here, when it comes to flipping houses, our goal was to double our production from last year, and we feel that hiring these next two people is going to get us there, and probably some more. And that is the forefront of really kind of what we're focusing on right now. And it's a lot of work up front to get someone, the right person, and involved in any sort of fit within your company. But it's mandatory, man. And I'm sure everybody will tell you, if you don't have an assistant, you are. And we're at that point now where we 100% need one.
Yeah. So have you built up a team in the past before, or this is kind of the beginning stages?
First time that I'm building a team. Yeah, I've had a kind of quasi team, but they were never like part of the core group. The part of the company, or part of the wheels that really, or the mechanics behind the wheel, or however you want to phrase it. I never had someone that was really enthralled with my company that was the part of the group. Like, we've had contractors that have kind of been project managers and things like that, but it's never really been integral part. So it's the first time it's going to be organically grown within our company.
Yeah. Okay. It's exciting, man. I know that that's something that I'm going to have to do in, the near future, in the next year or so. And I don't know how to wrap my head around that. I see other people doing it and, really just killing it with team building, and then other people are just falling apart. So it'll be definitely good to learn from you with any learning curves that you come across, and your wins in the next year or so. I think that'll be cool.
Absolutely. So I'm actually, I just read this book, which was really good. It's called Fire Yourself.
Yeah.
The guy's name is Brian Elwood, and I heard about him on a podcast, Joe McCall's podcast, and this book teaches you how to hire an acquisitions manager, but you can apply the hiring techniques to other aspects, which we're kind of using. Like that's what we've kind of done in this process is take a piece of this person's book and combined it with a piece of this person's advice and coming up with our own little twist on it to find the right person. So I would say our goal is by March 1st to have for our full-time assistant hired.
Really? Okay, cool. That's good. I like it. So what else excites you besides real estate?
So I love sports. I always have been. I was an athlete my whole life, and I look forward to watching all types of sports, mainly football and baseball. I love playing golf. I love fishing and camping, and anything outdoors is really right up my alley. So that really excites me. Is to be active and I love good food. I love going out and having a nice meal.
Yeah,
nice wine. So I mean, I would say between those two things and being outdoors and going and eating really well with my girlfriend or with friends or whatever, you know, I love doing that kind of stuff.
Cool. So all right, nice. So what, I mean, is there anything that we can do to actually serve you and give back?
I'm glad you brought that up because that's one thing that I'm really trying to focus on this year is to be a part of my life and my routine is to give back. And I have really not done a good job of that. So to give back to me, there's nothing really that I can think of besides using your podcast to influence other people to give back. You know, I've been blessed in having a successful real estate business, and I really don't do enough to give back to the community and just give back to others less fortunate. So that's something that I really need to focus on. So to give back to me would be to give back to your listeners, to influence them to give back. That would be cool.
Okay, cool. All right. Any final words or anything? I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No, I would just say, I think going back to a couple things is take action. Like that is really the key. Most people don't, and that will just hold you back. Whether you take action and fail, and you will fail, and it's important.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. And just
people are like very terrified of that.
That's right. And as long as you learn from it, and I think I'll leave you with one quote that a friend of mine gave me a year or so ago, and he flips probably 70 plus houses a year. And but one thing he said to me was, Derek, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and he's so right. And the more you follow up, the more you shake the trees, the more the fruit's gonna fall. So, you know, to anyone listening, just go out there, be that squeaky wheel. You're gonna get the grease every now and then, and as the more you do it, the more you're gonna get. So, I mean, it's so true.
Cool. I like that. I've never heard that before. It's a good one. So, how can people reach out to you?
So, myriad of ways. I mean, these days you have to be all connected social media wise and everything. But if you want to reach out to me directly, totally cool. My phone number is 858-444-7752. My email is Derek, DEREK, at Sonoca,
.com. Okay.
Someone took our domain.com, and what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? Yeah. I'm not mad at it. All right, guys. My name is Brandon Elliott. I'm your host. You can reach me at BrandonElliottInvestments.com or BrandonElliottInvestments@gmail. Thank you so much, Derek. I truly appreciate, the time and all your experience. You're definitely somebody that I look up to in good old sunny San Diego. And I appreciate it, man.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Do this again sometime.
Yeah. And anybody out there that is watching this, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, share, get it all out there. I appreciate you guys. You have been listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. Till next time, God bless.